Chapter 3: Definitions, Linear Structures, and Forests. Management Strategies. Presidential Decree 705 is entitled as revised because this law is a new version or an overhauled version of PD 389, otherwise known as the Forestry Reform Code of the Philippines. It replaced PD 330 and 339, CA number 452 and RA 4715. Be noticed that this law was promulgated during the Marcos regime, which became effective on May 9, 1975. President Marcos was able to promulgate this law because during this period he became a legislature at the same structure of the laws as a consequence of adoption of parliamentary form of government. Besides, this was also the period partition law, and thus he became a dictator during the time. The enactment of PD 75 was based on the following reasons. Number 1. Urgent need for proper qualification, management, and utilization of the land of the public domain, maximize their productivity to meet the demands of our increasing population. Number 2. The necessity of to the access to the multiple uses of the forest, land, and resources before allowing utilization. Therefore, in order to attain the optimal benefits that can be derived therefore. Number 3. The imperative need for the government to place emphasis not only on the utilization but also on the protection, rehabilitation, and development of forests and land in order to ensure sustainability of the productive condition in order to ensure that every step taken by government is in line with the foregoing principles. The state shall be guided by the following policies. Number 1. The multiple uses of forest land shall be oriented to the development and progress reoriented of the country, that advancement of science and technology, and the public welfare. Second, land classification and the survey shall be systemized and sustained. 3. The establishment of the wood processing plant shall be encouraged and nationalized. And number 4. The protection, development, and rehabilitation of forest land shall be emphasized so as to ensure their community in productive condition. Section 3 of PD 70S was already amended by PD 1559. This section refers to the technical and operational delineation of terms used in the code. Some of the terms defined under sections are follows. Agroforestry is sustainable management for land which increase overall production, combine agricultural crops, tree crops, and the forest plants, or simultaneously, and applies management practice which are compatible with the cultural pattern of the local population. Number 2. Alienable and disposable lands refers to those lands in the public domain which have been the subject of the present system of classification and declared as not needed for forest purpose. Number 3. Annual allowable cut, the volume of materials, whether wood or other forest products, that is authorized to be cut yearly from a forest. 4. Critical watershed refers to drainage area of river systems supporting existing and proposed hydroelectric power, irrigation works, or domestic water facilities needing immediately protections or rehabilitation. 5. Cutting cycle, the number of years between two major harvests in the same working unit and or region. Forest, a forest dominated by trees, diprocrat species such as Muyapis, Tanggel, Redlaon, Bagtikan, Yakal, Apitong, and etc. Forest ecosystems refers to the living and non-living components of forests and their interrelationship. Forest reservation. 9. Forest products means timber, pulpwood, bark, tree top, raisins, gum, wood, oil, honey, beeswax, nipa, rattan, or other forest flowing such as grass, syrup, and flowering plant. The associated water, leash, game, cyanic, historical, recreational, and geologic resource in forest lands. 10. Forest officers means any official or employee of the Bureau who has been appointed or delegated by law or by competent authority to execute, implement, or endorse the provisions of this code, other related laws, as well as the implementing regulations. Forest reservations reserve to the forests and which have been reserved by the President of the Philippines for any specific purpose or purposes. Game refuge or bird sanctuary refers a forest and designated for the protection of the game, animals, birds, and fish and close to hunting fishing in order that the excess population may allow and restock surrounding areas. Grazing lands refers the, to that portion of the public domain which has been set aside in view of the stability of its topography and vegetation for the raising of livestock. Health residual refers to a sold or slightly injured tree of the commercial species left after logging. Industrial tree plantations refers to any forest and extensively planted to tree crops intended primarily to supply the raw materials requirements of existing or proposed wood processing plant and related industries. Names refers to a proportion of the forest land which is subjected to shifting and or permanent slash and burn cultivation. List of privilege granted by the state to a person to occupy and possess in consideration of species-led rental in any forest land of the public domain in order to undertake any authorized activity therein. License refers to a privilege granted by the state to a person and utilize forest resources within the forest land without any right of application and possession over the same to the exclusion of the others or establish and open a wood processing plant or conduct any activities involving the utilization of any forest resources. License agreement refers to privilege granted by the states to a person to utilize forest resources. within the forest land with the right occupations and positions were, were to the exclusion of the other except the government, but with the corresponding obligations to develop project and rehabilitate the same in accordance with the terms and conditions set forth in said agreement. Mangrove refers to the type of the forest occurring on the tidal flat along the sea's coast intending along stream, usually with brackish water. Marnic Park refers to any public source art delineated for outdoor recreation, sport, leashing, water ski, water skiing, and related healthfully activities. Mineral lands refers to those lands to the public domain which have been satisfied as such by the DNR Secretary in accordance with prescribed and approved criteria, guidelines, and procedures. Multiple use is the harmonized utilization of the land, soil, water, wildlife, recreation values, grass, and timber of forest lands. National parks refers to a forest land reservation accidentally and primitive or wilderness character which has been withdrawn from settlement or occupancy and set aside as such exclusively to preserve the scenery and natural historic object and the wild animals are plant therein and to the provide enjoyment of those natures in such manners as well leave them unimpaired for future generation. Permanent forests or forest reserves refers to those lands of the public domain which have been subject of present system classification and declared as not needed for forest purpose. Grant a short-term privilege of authority granted by the state to a person to utilize any limited forest resources and undertake a limited activity with the forest and land without any rights of occupation and possession therein. Pine forest, a type of forest predominantly of pine trees. Private regulate refers to titled regulate of ownership, existing laws, and in the case of Mushroom to rights opposition excited that the time license of the grant under this code, which position may include place above and worship, burial grounds, and all clearings, but exclusive productive forest inclusive lodge over acres. Commercial forest and establishment plantation of the forest trees of economic values. Processing plants and any mechanical setup device machine communication of machine used for the conversion of logs and other timber products into lumber, liner, plywood, fielded board, blackboard, paperboard, and pulp and appear or other finished wood products. Public forest refers to the ends of the lands of the public domain which not been subject to the present system of classification for the determination which lands are needed for the forest purpose and which are not. Station is the organization or business or industry using management principles, system, and procedures to obtain stability, efficiency, and predictability of oper- operation. Scissors Park refers to any public source area limited for outdoor recreation, sport, fishing, waters, skiing, and other related letful activities. Skid tree system refers to the silvicultural system characterized by partial clear cutting leaving seeds areas to regenerate the area. Selective logging is the systematic removal of the nature of mature and defective trees in such a manner as to leave adequate number and volume of healthy residual trees of the desired species necessary then assures future crop of timber and forest cover for the protection and conservation of soil, water, and wildlife. Silvic- Silviculture, the establishment, development, reproduction, and care of forest trees. Sustained yield management, this implies continuous and periodic production of forest products in our working unit for the purpose of achieving at the careless practicable time and approximate balance between growing and harvesting or use. Tree farm refers to a small forest, land or tract of the land purposely planted to the trees crop. Watershed is the land area drained by a stream or fixed body of water, its tributaries having common outlet for surface runoff. Watershed reservation is a forest land reservation established to protect or improve the condition of water, help ill health, or reduce sedimentation.